and reassess to see how the healings went without taking any medication. Because maybe, for example, you've already taken the medication for the last 2 weeks and it's not helping, right? So then we go with that alternative way, so to speak. For some cultures, for like the Hmong culture, that could be the first go-to, and then for other cultures, that could be the last go-to. So it just kind of depends. Now for soul callings, some people just want to get a tune-up because they feel like they just are out of place. Maybe there's a missing link, and they're on like a spiritual journey. So then maybe they've got to get more than a tune-up. So maybe they got to do a soul retrieval. But then it's always when they go to see a healer or the shaman healer, and then the shaman kind of goes and see with the spirit guidance and the intelligence out there on what should I do. So my practice is from PaLiChee. So I'll say this because that's kind of how I get it from. So PaLiChee it means we will send or bring down to earth or humans or to whomever what is the cause. And so it's kind of like saying we'll bring the cure to the cause, to the root cause. So whenever you do a healing in the different frequencies, it will depend on what's going on and how long that's been going on. So a person that's been in cancer for 10 years is going to be different frequency healings than a person that's been in cancer for a year. Okay? And so then that's determined upon different criterias on how much times and what is that modality going to be for this person. And every person is going to be slightly different on what to do with their illness and the modality. Make sense? So it's kind of like in nursing where you're like, okay, the doctor prescribes, maybe 2 pills a day for one patient, and this other one maybe needs to take 4. So it's just the same idea with the different healings and frequencies.
And when you meet with someone, it's like a conversation that you have with them to gather your information as well.
Yes.
As using the guides.
So when you meet with a shaman, typically, like, I'm not sure what other shamans will do because everybody does it differently. But with me, you don't really have to say much. I could just say, okay, Jen's here, let's take a look. And that's it. And I go take a look and I channel in. And whatever I channel in will be spoken either silently or out to you. And then we kind of take it from there. So that's my intake. Jen's here. All right, I'm going to channel. That's it. For others, it's going to say, they may ask questions like, Jen, so how long has this been happening? Because they want to cut to the chase. So how long has this been happening? And what have you been doing about it? And all that intake, right? And then they go channel. Or they may just go with their intuition. Well, let me see. And then they just go with the intuition. So when they do that, they go with the intuition for some of them. For some of them, they may have to go into a deeper channeling. So they have an altar and they go into a deeper channeling, and then they don't want to know anything about you. They know your name is Jen. They know that you maybe, kind of like, your email, and that's it. So that's Jen. And you maybe a birth date. Sometimes you don't even have to say the birth date. And then they just go and they do a channeling session, and they channel in information on how to help you get it through, how to help you cope, okay, and heal. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to all of you? All right. And that's why the patient calls for the healer, because of this channeling force, this information that unbiasedly, I don't know anything about Jen, but I'm just going to go take a look. And when I go take a look, I know this information about Jen. And it will be very specific. Like, I'm not going to say, okay, who is your spouse? I'm not going to see your other stuff. But maybe it's the main thing that is important to you will pop out. Just like when you go and get a psychic reading. How many of you have gotten psychic readings? Any? Okay. So then when you get a psychic reading, you're asking, so will I get the job? Or something like that. So they may look at that and they may go, oh, that's not the point of getting the job. It's this, this, and this, and this. So there's other factors that are more important for your life right now. That's what you need to know. Getting the job is like maybe 10% of what's important right now. But maybe it's important to you consciously. But subconsciously, in the unconscious mind, it's this, this, and this that's more important. Your health, your relationship. Let's look at those first. Unconsciously, it's more important. But then for you right now, it's my job. I need to know if I'm going to get that job, right? And they may not answer that specific question because that's not what's important spiritually or energetically to you right now. So that's how the healings or the channelings work to do the healings. And for some, they may do channeling and readings and all that, but they cannot do healings. So then it's what is the capability of the healer into why they're being called, okay? So as a nurse practitioner or a holistic nurse, I think it's more about comfort, bringing comfort to the patient, and or if the healer's there, then giving that space. And then if it's your time to give the whatever the Western medicine, then they will give you space, right? So it goes into that hand in hand of respect. That's it, and being humble with each other.
I had one question for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Well, sort of a question.
Sure.
How difficult is it becoming for shamans to retrieve the tools that they need, whether that be, well, I just use like sage or the animal bones, ground up, or whatever they use for their medicine basket, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult is that getting to be? Is that partly why
You mean the
shamanism is
tools?
changing, because the type of tools that you have available aren't available here?
So some of that is changing. That's one thing that could be, like, for example, if I can't retrieve a pair of horns for my healing, then I'm going to have to use something else. So then it's channeled in on what is it that you can use, okay? And they're really flexible. At least mines are really flexible. I don't know about other shamans and how flexible their guides are. Some of them, they're like, you've got to get this horn, right? Or else you won't be able to do it. There's a reason to that, and then so they're going to have to find it somewhere, right? Whatever that tool is. It's kind of like a doctor not having a stethoscope. If they don't have the stethoscope, then how can they hear the heartbeat? Well, they're going to have to get an ultrasound or something else, right? Some other technology tool to help them. So there's always a vast variety, and that doesn't stop the shaman from doing their ritual, but they can use an alternative too. For example, if the person's not there and they can't come home from the hospital, then they'll just do it at home, and then it's still a healing. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yes, some of those are scarce, more scarce, but then at the same time, then it's also changing at the same time that we're looking for that bone or whatever, that horn. Then there's also a shift in the intelligence and the technology, energetically and spiritually, that we are able to then maybe not even need that, and then we can just use something totally different that we have maybe available to us and not scarce. Okay. So they can, healing can be very flexible for some, and healing may not be flexible for some. For some, they will be able to come into the hospital and start doing their healings. For some, they're like, I can't come there, I'm just going to have to do it at home. So,
because there is a remote spiritual healing that can happen.
Definitely, because that's the same type of thing that happens when I'm channeling.
Right.
That's remote. I'm not with my guides right there and then, right?
Right.
But it's remote, it's telepathy. And so if I'm healing my patient or the client, it's also telepathy and distance. So I hope you guys can hear that well as well. All right.
Well, thank you so very
All
much.
right.
Any other questions?
I hope that was informational enough to help you guys kind of get a gist of the whole kind of culture and the way of thinking that goes on. And also, you know, just kind of having a feel for healers and what they do and the work that they do. And so, all right.
I think this is important work for us to be aware, not only just to be culturally aware, but to actually be more responsive, culturally
Yes.
responsive.
Yes.
We can't really know that much about everyone else's culture, but we can be responsive by being open and listening, and not, when we ask those questions, it doesn't sound judging.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference.
It
And
does.
this kind of information really helps us as advanced practice nurses to do that, to be more open.
Yes, yes. And again, it goes along with, you can tell us it's okay. We're not gonna, you know, you can say that, communicate that over to the patients, because they're not sure. If they tell you, I really need a shaman here, they may not tell you. They may tell their, you know, another person in their family, and then they kind of go call a shaman to come, and then you'll feel like, oh, they're coming into our space. So then it's because of the communication that wasn't maybe comforting or trusting somehow, that then they're not, like, you know, being a school nurse, they're not gonna tell you right away, oh, we went to see a shaman and they helped with his ankle or whatever, right? So now he doesn't need a cast. So something like that. And then they will just tell you if openly, if they know that you're okay with it. All right? All right, so I think
Excellent.
that's it. All right, thank you. Thank you for, and warm blessings
Thank you.
for having me here.
Thank you.
Yes.